Bad news for AEW, as while ratings continue to decrease for Dynamite, you have some talent that are quote-unquote appalled by some of the decisions that Tony Khan has made as of late. This according to new revelations from Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer. We're going to talk about what exactly Alvarez had to say about some of the things he heard backstage from people in AEW. We're also going to look at AEW's ratings, how they have fallen off in comparison to just a year ago, and what all of this means for the future of All Elite Wrestling. Buckle up. We've got a lot to get into. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. All right. Let's get right in and talk about AEW, their ratings. First of all, AEW, of course, has been declining in ratings just over the past year, and it has been quite the decline. If we just take a look at this past week's AEW Dynamite rating, this, of course, is courtesy of the good folks over at WrestleNomics, Brandon Thurston and company, doing fantastic work over there. You can see that once again, AEW's average viewership for AEW Dynamite dipped below 600,000 as the 18 to 49 number was at 0.17. That is a pretty steep decline just year over year. For comparison, in December of 2023, AEW Dynamite was averaging a 0.28 in that key demo, and they were also averaging in 2023, 823,000 viewers per episode for AEW Dynamite. The average this year, 590,000 viewers. That is not good. If you look just quarter to quarter, according to the good folks over at WrestleNomics, right now Dynamite for Q4 is averaging 612,000 live viewers. Last year, they were averaging 828,000 live viewers. That's a dip of 26%, far beyond what you could account for cord cutting, far beyond what you could account for just, a lull in business, a lull in professional wrestling and television in general. There's a problem. There is a genuine problem with AEW, and I think there's some of it that you can blame on just being the second biggest company in the world and a virtue of just WWE being as hot as it is. However, there are legitimate things that AEW has been responsible for that I think make its programming less and less must-see live week in, week out. We know that the DVR +3 numbers for AEW are pretty decent, and there's still a bunch of live viewers, or there's a bunch of people who are tuned into the product, and their pay-per-view numbers have actually not even taken a dip at all. They've pretty much stagnated from where they've been over the last couple of years. But the fact that AEW Dynamite, which is their flagship, has dipped so far in ratings is definitely a sign that their product is not as must-see as it was. And part of it is you don't have a lot of your big stars. You're just getting them back. But really, the booking has dipped in AEW. I thought for a while there that between the months of June and I want to say September, AEW Dynamite, I thought was by far the best professional wrestling show on television in that moment, in those couple of months. I think they had even, the ratings had even, after dipping below 500,000 or right around 500,000, they had gone up. You saw Blood and Guts perform very well. You saw the hype around All In perform very well. You saw the energy around AEW become even bigger than it had been all of last year and at least in the beginning of this year. And Swerve Strickland was the world champion. There was a lot to point to. However, right now, it seems like outside of the Mox Death Rider stuff, a lot of the rest of the TV is very formulaic. It is something that, it doesn't shock you. It doesn't engage you as much as it probably should. And that's not to say that they're not killing it with the matches. I'm someone who loves the in-ring action that AEW has to offer. And quite frankly, as a fan, not as an analyst, but as a fan, I prefer that a lot. So when I'm telling you that even me, as someone who loves the in-ring product, is a little bit disengaged than I probably should be with AEW, it is a problem. And I think if you look at what Brian Alvarez had to say, it kind of opens up a little bit of the conversation here. He said about this decision that was made from Tony Khan to have Tony Storm's return match on Rampage, not Collision, Rampage. Quote, do you know how many people I talked to in AEW yesterday, and every last single one of them aghast, may not even be the right word, appalled that Tony Storm's return is on Rampage? I swear to God, this is true. You could have had 200 people lined up outside of Tony Khan's door last night, one by one. All 200 of them could have gone in there and said, this idea is stupid. And do you know what would have happened? You know what had happened at the end of the night? He'd have still done it, because that's what happens. People argue things with him every week, and at the end of the day, he does whatever he wants. And obviously, that right there, that insight right there from Brian Alvarez, who is pretty good when it comes to reporting stuff from AEW backstage and his sources there specifically, it is pretty damning for Tony Khan. And this is something that honestly needs to be talked about more, because while you will hear a lot of, like, I think, bad faith criticism about Tony Khan as a booker and to some extent as a person, I'm not going to be the person who defends the billionaire's son, but at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you things honestly. I don't think the issue is that Tony Khan doesn't know how to book well, because at the end of the day, he was the guy who booked some of the most compelling professional wrestling we had ever seen in 2021 and in 2022. At the end of the day, Tony Khan is responsible for helping book AEW back from a pretty difficult place. Like that Christmas edition, the edition of AEW Dynamite the week before Christmas of 2019 is something that needs to be studied as far as how quickly they were dropping. And then Tony Khan comes in, he says, I am going to be the guy to be the final say on all of these booking decisions. It is on me. And then in 2020, he booked some of the best professional wrestling we'd ever seen, which is the truth. But along the way, and I think this happens to a lot of good bookers, even if you look at, like, take the personal stuff out of it, you look at Vince McMahon. There's no doubt about it that as a booker, not as a human being, but as a booker, Vince McMahon is probably the greatest professional wrestling booker of all time. He has booked some of the best moments, some of the biggest moments, all of that. However, he's also responsible for some of the shittier ones. And I think it's a product of being around long enough, and it's a product of, I think, kind of selling yourself on your ability to just book anything and have it be good in your own mind. I'm sure after a couple of years of doing that, there's a little bit of that has come into Tony Khan, and there's a little bit of the overconfidence is probably the wrong word, but there's a little bit of that. I think I'm Teflon to all of this, when the reality is that you are not advancing stories like you used to. It just feels like sometimes, or actually a lot of times, we get matches on AEW that kind of like tie together. We get week to week kind of tie together. But at the end of the day, the best stuff and the best episodes of AEW Dynamite, they're not the ones that necessarily have just kick-ass matches, right? The Grand Slams and Winter is Coming are kind of like, pay-per-view style events they like to do and all that. And I understand, like, those are your super cards, and that's fine. But you need to build to those better. There was almost no hype around Winter is Coming this year. There was even less hype around Grand Slam this year. And that is a product of, I think, bad week-to-week engagement and bad week-to-week storytelling. Or at least week-to-week storytelling. I didn't want to say week-to-week because week squared, week cubed, whatever it is. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, I think you have to look at it like that, and you also have to look at the fact that, like, the best episodes of Dynamite are the ones where they have an arc to them. They have a story arc where you have stories being advanced in the ring and outside of it. And when was the last time we had a true arc throughout the night on an AEW show that was engaging? When did something at the beginning of the show impact what happened in the middle, impact what happened in the end? It's rarely happened in the last couple of months. And that is why I think you're seeing these sub 600,000 numbers. And while part of me wants to think that it's a little bit of, well, maybe they're just kind of buying their time until the Max deal kicks in. But the reality is you are up against a monster in competition when it comes to that. Because Raw on Netflix is what everyone is talking about. The hype around Max, AEW on Max, for me, I'm personally excited about it. People aren't talking about it, though. We are in a completely different landscape than we were a couple of years ago in professional wrestling. WWE was not the hot company a couple of years ago. They were a bad company, making bad booking decisions, and any hype they would have died very quickly soon afterwards. Because at the end of the day, they just weren't booking competently. Right now, Triple H is booking competently most weeks. And because of that, because of the partnership with TKO, they have made every WWE show bigger. They have added to the WWE experience. And AEW, by virtue of that, has taken a hit. They also haven't had some of their biggest stars present throughout the year. Hangman Page was gone for about a couple of months there. Kenny Omega has not been on AEW TV for a year. And when you have that, you're going to see people disengage because they're there for the stars. They're there for the wrestling. They're there for the stars. They're there for the story. But if you only have one of those, you can only go so far. That is why I genuinely think that there needs to be a little bit of a come to Jesus moment. This isn't like me ringing the alarm bells. AEW's not going to go out of business. Anyone who tells you that is either lying to you or has just is not an intelligent person, to be honest. And I think a lot of it is the former. A lot of people do want to lie because it's an easy grift. It's an easy hustle to be either anti-WWE or anti-AEW. It's a very easy hustle. You can make a boatload of money, and it's what it is, right? That's the media game. But if you're being honest about it, right? The numbers are what they are. AEW's locked into a multi-year deal. I think streaming will help. I think Max being the home of the pay-per-views, at least for purchase, will help. I think Max being the exclusive home for All In is definitely going to help that show, and that being available to all Max viewers is going to help the hype around AEW. I just think from a booking standpoint, there needs to be a more emphasis on engaging storytelling. And I'll be honest, even the mock stuff, I'm sitting here some weeks and I'm like, I think I get why Mox is doing what he's doing. And I do. I think it's a pretty simple storyline they're trying to tell where Mox is if AEW stars aren't ready to step up, I'm going to take the mantle. But that hasn't been explicitly explained. And I don't think you need to talk to people like they're 5-year-olds, right? And explain every little detail every week. But there should be a mission statement. And I don't think that mission statement promo, even in that story, which is AEW's best story, I think it's a great story, I don't think that's happened. And it's things like that, right, where you engage fans. It's not just moments. Darby Allin crashing his car into the Elite or into Mox's van. Amazing. Why is Darby in the Continental Classic after that ending? I'm just saying. It is... and again, I don't know Tony Khan. I attended one press conference and met him there. Outside of that, haven't had contact with him and don't know him. And if he were in front of me, I would be like, man, you're doing a good job. Just engage the stories a little bit more. Engage your audience a little bit more. And I understand it's tough. You got a massive roster. You got a lot of things to do. But it's also why you could delegate a little bit more too. And again, And we know that he has delegated certain storylines to certain people, and that's a good thing. But it just feels like it's that spark. You know what? It really is that. It's that. It's not even the hot, like AEW being the hot product versus WWE. Not that spark that AEW once had. It's not there to the extent that it used to be. And they have a chance, I think, over the next couple of months to ignite that spark. I think Kenny Omega coming back is going to help. I think the Young Bucks being on TV is definitely going to help. But I think what they do when they're on TV matters way more. We'll see what they end up doing. But for right now, I hope that AEW makes some changes. As a fan of that product, as a fan of professional wrestling, I really do hope that. And I don't mean that in like a way like AEW is going to go out of business. They're not. And it would be a bad thing if they did. And I'm not even saying that from the company standpoint. I don't care about companies. I care about wrestlers. I care about the agents. I care about the people who work there. I care about the industry as a whole. It is healthier to have more AEWs, more TNAs, more GCWs than it is just to have WWE. It's just the truth of it. And it's not a anti-WWE thing. It is a pro-professional wrestling thing. More people have the ability to work. More people have the ability to play music to your own drum, play to the beat of your own drum, all that kind of stuff. Play your music your way. Wrestle your way. Anyway, I have gone on very long. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully, you guys thought that was useful. Hopefully, you guys thought that was worthwhile information and commentary. Let me know in the comments section, though, what you guys think. What do you think can fix AEW in this moment? Or let me know what you think should happen. Anyway, guys, be sure to hit that like button, too. It really helps out the algorithm, helps the channel grow. Also, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Until next time, be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.